Welcome to Meta Yeda with your host, Dr. Elhanan Gazit, your ultimate destination for leaders and creators. Here, we share some of the best metaverse, gaming, and digital innovation news, stories, and insights. Think fast, level up smart. Game on.
Welcome to today's deep dive. You ready to explore something really cool?
Absolutely. Always up for a challenge. What are we diving into today?
We're taking a sneak peek at Dr. Elhanan Gazit's upcoming book. The chapter we'll be looking at today focuses on the gamer brain.
Oh, cool. I've heard some buzz about that book.
Yeah, it's called A Journey Between Pixels and Synapses, and it's not even out yet. Publication is slated for 2025, so this is a real exclusive.
Wow, a sneak peek. That's awesome. I'm all ears. What's the core idea?
Well, the book really dives into how all this digital stuff, video games, the metaverse, AI, you name it, is actually changing how our brains work, how we think and learn.
Especially for younger generations, I imagine. Those who grew up with all this tech.
Yeah, exactly. Dr. Gazit actually has a name for them. Generation Gaming Plus.
Generation Gaming Plus. Catchy. Makes you think, doesn't it? How much of our brains are being shaped by all this?
It really does. To kick things off, Dr. Gazit introduces us to this character named Marvin, a neuroscience student. He's totally absorbed in a video game.
Oh, I know that feeling. Lost in the digital world.
Right. But then right in the middle of the action, Marvin asks himself a question. He's like, what is all this doing to me?
Whoa, that's deep. I think we've all been there. Spend hours gaming and wonder about the impact.
Absolutely. So to figure that out, let's start with the basics. What are video games, really?
Good point. We need a clear definition.
Well, Dr. Gazet brings in some expert opinions. One definition comes from Mark Overmars, a computer scientist. He describes video games as software where you make decisions in the situations where you don't know what's going to happen next. You're controlling things on the screen, and the goal is to win.
Okay, so there's strategy involved, not just button mashing.
Right. Then there's Jesper Juhl. He studies video games. His take is that video games have all these complex rules that you uncover as you play.
So it's not just about following instructions. You're constantly learning and adapting as you go.
Exactly. And that's what makes it so engaging. It brings us to this really cool concept called the flow state. Ever experienced that?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Like when you're so into something, you completely lose track of time.
That's it. It happens when the game's difficulty is just a bit above your skill level. You're completely focused and, well, in the flow.
And that feeling is actually linked to your brain chemistry, right? Dopamine, I think.
You got it. Dopamine is released when you're in that flow state. It's linked to pleasure, motivation, and even learning.
So our brains are rewarding us for gaming. No wonder it feels so good.
Exactly. There's even research by Irving Biederman. He did studies that showed a clear link between playing video games and, bam, dopamine release.
Wow. So it's not just anecdotal, there's actual science behind it.
Right. Dr. Gazit even goes as far as to compare video games to, get this, digital Ritalin.
Digital Ritalin?
Yep.
Seriously, that's a bold statement.
It is. He's referring to their ability to enhance focus, especially for people with ADHD. It really makes you think about the potential benefits beyond just entertainment.
Absolutely. And that brings to mind all the negative things people say about video games.
Oh, yeah, all those myths and stereotypes.
Like that they cause violence or that they're a total waste of time.
Or that they make people antisocial and that they're only for kids.
Oh, absolutely. That one's a classic.
Dr. Gazit debunks all of these myths with actual data. For example, did you know that the average age of a gamer today is 38?
Wow, 38. That's way older than I would have guessed.
Right. And, get this, it's almost an even split between male and female players.
So it's not just a boys' club anymore. It's really a mainstream thing now.
Exactly. And all that talk about violence.
Oh.
Decades of research, and they found no direct link between playing violent video games and actually being aggressive in real life.
That's reassuring to hear. As a parent, that's definitely a concern.
It is.
Oh.
But it seems like that fear isn't really backed up by evidence. In fact, Dr. Gazit argues that moderate gaming can actually be beneficial for things like learning and development.
Really? Like, how so? What skills are we talking about?
Well, think about what you do when you're playing a game. Problem solving, strategic thinking, adapting to new situations, coming up with creative solutions.
You're right. It's like a constant mental workout. And those are all skills you need in the real world, too.
Exactly. And there's even research to support this. Dr. Gazit talks about a study by Dr. Joshua Pryor. It found a link between playing video games as a child and, get this, having a higher income and a better career later in life.
Wait, seriously, playing video games can actually help you make more money?
It seems that way. The study found that people who played video games as kids earned, on average, over $5,000 more per year than those who didn't.
Wow. That's pretty significant. I wonder why that is.
They found that certain games, like FIFA, were linked to even higher incomes. Maybe it's all the strategic thinking and quick decision-making involved.
That makes sense. Like, you're constantly having to analyze the situation, weigh your options, and make a move, often under pressure.
Right. It's like training for the business world.
Huh. Maybe those FIFA players are just masters of negotiation.
It's possible. Although it's important to note that this study was based on what people themselves reported. So, there's always a chance for some bias.
Right. Still, a very interesting finding.
It is. And it supports the bigger idea that gaming can have a real positive impact on how our brains develop. But it's not all about careers and money. Gaming can also be good for our overall well-being.
Oh, absolutely. Like the social aspect, connecting with friends, being part of a team.
Yeah. And Dr. Gazit mentions a study by UNICEF. It found that games, especially well-designed ones, can give children a sense of control and a safe place to figure out who they are. And they can help them connect with others.
That's so important, especially for kids who might be struggling socially in real life.
Exactly. Dr. Gazit even tells his heartwarming story about a kid in Cape Town. He was really into this problem-solving game, and it boosted his self-esteem so much. It even helped him discover hidden talents.
That's amazing. It shows how gaming can unlock potential that might otherwise stay hidden.
It really does. Challenges that idea that gaming is isolating. But the study also emphasizes picking games that fit a child's needs and interests. It's about encouraging them to make choices and interact with others within the game.
So it's not just about letting them play anything and everything. It's about being thoughtful about what they're playing.
Right. It's about finding games that actually help them grow and develop in positive ways. And speaking of growth, I think it's time we level up and dive into the actual science of the gamer brain. Ready?
Oh, yeah. I'm ready to get nerdy with some neuroscience.
Awesome. So Dr. Gazet lays out some really cool findings from different studies. For example, research by Bavlier and Green found that people who play a lot of action games, their visual processing and attention skills are actually sharper than those who don't.
That makes a lot of sense. Action games demand that you track multiple things happening at once, react quickly, and ignore distractions.
Right. It's like a real-time workout for your brain. And then there's this study by Kuhn that found that playing 3D games, like Super Mario 64, actually causes structural changes in the hippocampus.
Hold on, the hippocampus, that's the part of the brain that's responsible for memory and spatial navigation, right?
Yeah, you got it. And it turns out it's super adaptable. When you expose it to complex and stimulating environments, like those found in 3D games, it actually grows and changes.
Wow. So it's not just about reflexes and hand-eye coordination. Gaming is actually changing the physical structure of our brain.
Exactly. It's pretty amazing, right? And the cool thing is, the effects can happen pretty quickly. A study by Kuo found that even just 1 hour of playing an action game, like League of Legends, can significantly improve visual attention, even for people who don't usually play video games.
Wow. So whether you're a hardcore gamer or just playing casually, your brain is still benefiting.
It seems that way.
Yeah.
And Dr. Gezet also points out how important video games were during the COVID-19 pandemic.
Oh, yeah, I remember that. Everyone was stuck at home.
Exactly. And for many people, video games were a way to stay mentally active and engaged, which was super important for preventing cognitive decline.
That makes a lot of sense. It was a time when we really needed to keep our minds sharp, and video games provided a great way to do that.
Absolutely. They highlighted the role gaming can play in maintaining cognitive health, especially during tough times. But there's another part of the brain that Dr. Gezet talks about that I find super interesting. The insula.
The insula. Tell me more. What's that all about?
It's involved in all sorts of things, like how we experience emotions, the way our bodies process sensory information, and even our capacity for empathy.
Wow, that's fascinating. I never would have thought about gaming having an impact on something like empathy.
It's wild, right? Think about all the intense emotions we feel when we're playing. The excitement of winning, the frustration of losing, the tension of a close match.
You're right. Those feelings are definitely real, and they're all processed by the insula.
Exactly. So our brains are basically taking these digital experiences and translating them into real emotions.
It's like the virtual world is bleeding into our emotional reality.
It really is. And this constant back and forth between the virtual and the emotional is shaping our brains in ways we're just beginning to understand. Dr. Gazit highlights this study called the ABCD study, which has been tracking the development of adolescents.
Oh, interesting. What did they find?
They looked specifically at kids between 9 and 10 who played video games for about 3 hours a day. The results were pretty surprising.
Surprising in a good way or a bad way?
In a good way, actually.
Well,
Turns out the gamers actually performed better than their non-gaming peers on tests that measured impulse control and working memory. They even used brain imaging and found that these kids had more activity in areas of the brain that are associated with attention and memory.
so it's like gaming is giving them a mental edge.
Exactly. It suggests that gaming, when done in moderation, might be a really valuable tool for cognitive training in childhood. It could even lead to better brain function later in life.
That's amazing. It really challenges those old school ideas about video games rotting our brains.
I know, right? But Dr. Gazit doesn't stop there. He delves into some research that's even more cutting edge, involving, get this, neurons grown in a lab dish.
Wait, what? Neurons in a dish? Are you serious?
I know, it sounds crazy. But researchers were able to get a network of 800,000 neurons to play the classic video game Pong.
That's wild. How did they even do that?
They sent electrical signals to the neurons that basically mimicked the inputs and outputs of the game. And what they found was that these neurons actually learned to respond to the cues of the game and even started to develop simple strategies.
That is mind-blowing. If a bunch of neurons in a dish can learn to play Pong, imagine what our human brains with trillions of connections can do.
I know, it's incredible. It shows the insane learning capacity of neural networks, even outside of a living brain.
This is all so fascinating. We've gone from the nuts and bolts of the gamer brain to the social aspects of gaming, and even touched on things like addiction and mindfulness. But now I'm curious, what does the future hold for gaming? What's next?
That's where things get really exciting.
Lay it on me. I'm ready for a glimpse into the future.
Well, Dr. Gazit takes us on a journey into a world where the line between the real and the virtual is becoming more and more blurry. And it's all thanks to things like augmented reality, virtual reality, and the metaverse.
Yeah, I hear those terms all the time, but I'm not always sure what they really mean. Can you break it down for us?
Sure. Imagine a world where you can get instant digital information about your surroundings, like a heads-up display right in your field of vision. That's augmented reality.
Okay, I can see how that would be really cool. What about VR?
Virtual reality is about completely immersing yourself in a digital world. It's like stepping inside a video game.
Wow, that sounds incredible.
It is. But then there's the metaverse, which takes things to a whole new level. It's basically a vast interconnected network of these virtual worlds where people can interact, work, play, even build entire economies.
That's crazy. It sounds like science fiction coming to life.
I know, right? It's happening right now, and it's developing at an incredible pace.
Yeah.
And to add even more complexity and possibility to the mix, we have artificial intelligence, or AI.
AI is everywhere these days. It's like it's taking over the world.
I know. And in the world of gaming, AI has the potential to change absolutely everything. Imagine games that adapt to your individual cognitive and emotional profile, giving you challenges that are perfectly tailored to your needs and goals.
Yeah, it would be incredible. It's like having a personal trainer for your brain.
Exactly. AI could analyze how you play, figure out your strengths and weaknesses, and then create custom-made experiences to help you learn and develop in the best way possible.
That's mind-blowing.
It is. But Dr. Gazit goes even further. He sees a future where gaming goes beyond just entertainment and becomes a powerful tool for personal empowerment, scientific discovery, cultural exchange, and learning on a global scale.
Wow, that's a pretty bold vision, but is it really achievable?
It's certainly ambitious, but I don't think it's far-fetched. We're already seeing glimpses of this future.
Can you give us some examples of what this might look like in practice?
Absolutely. Think about education. Imagine immersive virtual classrooms where students can experience historical events firsthand, conduct virtual science experiments, or even learn new languages by interacting with AI-powered avatars.
That would be amazing. It's like bringing learning to life.
Exactly. And the potential for healthcare is equally exciting. VR is already being used to treat phobias, anxiety disorders, and even chronic pain. And as AI gets more sophisticated, we could see personalized virtual therapies that adapt to each patient's unique needs.
It's like having a therapist in your pocket.
In a way it is, but there are also social implications to consider. If we're spending more and more time in these virtual worlds, how will that affect our real-world relationships?
That's a really important question.
It is, and Dr. Gazette tackles this head-on in his book. He acknowledges the potential risks of social isolation and disconnect, but he also highlights the opportunities for building new communities and fostering a deeper understanding between people from different cultures.
So it's a double-edged sword.
Exactly. We need to be aware of the potential downsides while embracing the possibilities for positive change. And that's where Dr. Gazette's idea of the gaming mindset comes in.
Ah, yes, the gaming mindset. We keep coming back to that. Remind me, what does he mean by that?
He sees it as a set of attitudes, ways of thinking, and actions that are essential for thriving in this rapidly changing digital world. It's about being adaptable, resilient, collaborative, and always willing to learn and grow.
It sounds like a mental toolkit for navigating the 21st century.
Exactly. And it's a toolkit that we can all benefit from, whether we're hardcore gamers or not.
I love that. It's so empowering.
It is. And it reminds us that the future isn't something that just happens to us. It's something we actively create through our choices and actions.
Powerful stuff. I'm feeling really inspired.
Me too. But for now, I think we need to hit the pause button on our deep dive.
Already, I feel like we're just getting started.
I know there's so much more to explore, but we've reached the end of part 1.
Oh, man. But don't worry, we'll be back soon with part 2 of our epic exploration of the gamer brain.
That's right. We still have a lot more to uncover, including that fascinating concept of mesometric plasticity and what it means for gamers.
And we'll dig deeper into how gaming can help bridge cultural divides and promote global understanding.
So stay tuned, everyone. We'll be back soon to continue our journey into the amazing world of the gamer brain. Until then,
Keep on gaming.
and keep on learning.
Power up fast.
LVL Up Smart. Welcome back to our deep dive into the gamer brain. Last time, we left off with Marvin and his question. What is all this doing to me? Remember, he was wondering about the effects of gaming on his brain.
Yeah, it's a question a lot of us have, right? It's fascinating and a little bit unnerving at the same time.
Absolutely. And to really understand what's going on, we need to go deeper into the world of neuroscience. When we're gaming, our brains aren't just passively taking in information. They're actively changing, creating new connections, rewiring themselves to adapt to the challenges we face in these virtual worlds.
So it's not just entertainment, it's a brain workout.
Precisely. And there's a ton of research that supports this idea. Dr. Gazette points to studies by Bavelier and Green, for example. They found that people who play action games a lot actually develop better visual processing and attention skills than those who don't.
That makes sense when you think about it. In action games, you have to be able to track all sorts of things happening at once, react super quickly, and tune out distractions.
Exactly. It's like your brain is constantly being challenged and pushed to its limits. And it's not just about speed and focus either. Gaming can also have a huge impact on the structure of our brains. There's this research by Kuhn, for instance, that showed that playing 3D games like Super Mario can lead to structural changes in the hippocampus.
Wait, hold on. Just a quick reminder for our listeners. The hippocampus is that part of the brain that's shaped like a seahorse. It plays a big role in memory and spatial navigation, right?
You got it. And it turns out it's really sensitive to what we call environmental enrichment. Think of it this way. When we expose our brains to complex and stimulating environments, like the ones you find in games like Minecraft or StarCraft, the hippocampus goes into overdrive.
So it's like giving your brain a good workout at the gym.
Exactly. It strengthens our spatial memory and helps us learn and adapt more effectively. And Dr. Gazette makes this interesting point about how video games were actually a lifeline for many people during the COVID-19 pandemic.
Oh yeah, I remember that, when everyone was stuck at home.
Right. Video games offered a way to stay mentally active and engaged, which was so important for preventing cognitive decline.
That makes sense. It was a time when we really needed to keep our minds sharp, and video games provided a fun and engaging way to do that.
Exactly. And it really highlights how important gaming can be for maintaining cognitive health, especially during challenging times. But there's another part of the brain that Dr. Gazette talks about that I find fascinating, the insula.
The insula. Tell me more. What's that all about?
Well, the insula is involved in a bunch of different things, like how we experience emotions, how our bodies process sensory information, and even our capacity for empathy.
Wow, that's interesting. I never would have thought about gaming having an impact on something like empathy.
It's pretty amazing, right? Think about all the intense emotions we go through when we're playing a game. The joy of winning, the frustration of losing, the suspense of a close call.
You're right. Those emotions are very real, even though it's just a game.
Exactly. And all of those emotions are processed by the insula. So our brains are essentially taking these digital experiences and translating them into real, tangible emotions.
It's like blurring the lines between the virtual world and our own emotional reality.
Exactly. And this constant back and forth between the virtual and the emotional is shaping our brains in ways that we're only just beginning to understand. Dr. Gazit highlights this study called the ABCD study, which has been following the development of adolescence.
Oh, interesting. What did they find?
They specifically look at kids between the ages of 9 and 10 who play video games for around 3 hours a day. And the results were quite surprising.
Really? Surprising in a good way or a bad way?
In a good way, actually. Turns out, those who played games did better than those who didn't on tests of impulse control and working memory. They even used brain imaging and saw increased activity in areas of the brain related to attention and memory.
So it's almost like gaming was giving them a mental advantage in real life.
Exactly. It suggests that gaming, in moderation, could actually be a really valuable tool for training our brains, especially during childhood. It could potentially lead to better brain function later in life.
That's amazing. It really challenges those outdated notions about video games being harmful to our brains.
I know, right? But Dr. Gazit doesn't stop there. He even talks about some really cutting-edge research involving, get this, neurons grown in a lab dish.
Wait, what? Neurons in a dish? Are you serious?
Yep, I know it sounds crazy. But researchers were able to create a network of 800,000 neurons and get them to play the classic video game Pong.
You're kidding. How is that even possible?
They sent electrical signals to the neurons, basically mimicking the inputs and outputs of the game. And get this, the neurons actually learned to respond to the cues of the game and even started developing basic strategies.
That's incredible. So if a bunch of neurons in a dish can learn to play Pong, just imagine what our brains can do with all those trillions of connections.
It's mind-blowing, right? It really highlights the incredible learning capacity of neural networks, even outside of a living brain. But, we've talked a lot about the individual benefits of gaming, the cognitive stuff, the emotional stuff. But what about the bigger picture? How does gaming affect our relationships, our communities, our society?
Yeah, that's a really important question, especially with all this talk about the metaverse and virtual worlds. Are we heading towards a future where we're all just plugged into our devices, completely isolated from each other?
That's a valid concern, for sure. But Dr. Gazit actually argues that gaming can be a powerful force for connection and community building. He talks about the concept of the gaming mindset, which is all about collaboration, teamwork, and working towards shared goals.
So it's not just about individual achievement, it's about being part of something bigger than yourself.
Exactly. He even uses the term hive mind to describe this phenomenon.
Hive mind! That sounds intense. Can you give us some examples of how this gaming mindset plays out in the real world?
Absolutely. Dr. Gazit talks about the rewire project, which was this amazing initiative where researchers at Princeton University recruited over 250,000 gamers to help map the intricate neural networks of the brain.
Wait, so gamers were actually helping scientists with real research. That's awesome.
It is. And the results were amazing. This huge collaborative effort led to the discovery of entirely new types of neurons, which just shows the incredible power of collective intelligence when it's harnessed effectively.
Wow, that's inspiring. So gamers aren't just playing for fun, they're actually making real contributions to science and society.
They are. And it's not just limited to science either. Dr. Gazit also points to games like RuneScape, which actively encourage things like cooperation, empathy, and a sense of community among players.
So it's like the virtual world is becoming a training ground for real-world social skills.
In a way, it is. And I think this really challenges the traditional view that gaming is somehow isolating or detrimental to our social development.
It definitely flips the script. But of course, like with anything, there needs to be balance and moderation.
Absolutely. And Dr. Gazit acknowledges that, especially when it comes to the issue of gaming addiction.
That's a serious topic.
It is. Dr. Gazit doesn't shy away from it. He recognizes that gaming addiction, or internet gaming disorder as it's officially called, is a real problem that can have serious consequences.
So while gaming has all these potential benefits, it can also be problematic if it takes over our lives.
Exactly. Dr. Gazit doesn't sugarcoat it. He faces that reality head on. He talks about how some people can get so caught up in gaming that it starts to negatively impact their relationships, their work, their health. It's about finding that sweet spot, where gaming enriches your life without consuming it.
Right, it's about balance.
Yeah.
And personal responsibility.
Absolutely. But what about the future? What's next for gaming?
Yeah, where do we go from here? With all these advancements in technology, it's hard to even imagine what the future of gaming will look like.
It's pretty wild to think about. Dr. Gizit takes us on a journey into a future where those lines between the real and virtual worlds become even more blurred thanks to technologies like augmented reality, AR, virtual reality VR, and the metaverse.
I hear those terms thrown around a lot, but I'm not always sure I understand what they really mean. Can you break it down for us?
Sure. Imagine walking down the street, and as you look around, you see digital information overlaid onto your real surroundings. Like you could glance at a building and instantly see its history, or look at a restaurant and see its menu and reviews pop up. That's augmented reality.
Oh, wow. That sounds amazing. What about VR?
Virtual reality is about creating completely immersive digital experiences. It's like stepping inside a video game, where you can interact with the environment and other people in a truly three-dimensional way.
That sounds incredible. I can see how both AR and VR could have a huge impact on gaming, but what about this metaverse thing? I'm still not quite sure what that is.
Think of the metaverse as a vast, interconnected network of these virtual worlds. It's a place where people can meet, socialize, work, play, create, and even build entire economies, all within a digital space.
Wow, that sounds like something straight out of science fiction.
It does, but it's actually happening right now, and it's developing incredibly fast. And of course, we can't forget about artificial intelligence, or AI. It's playing a huge role in shaping the future of gaming, too.
AI seems to be transforming just about every aspect of our lives these days.
You're not wrong. And in the gaming world, AI has the potential to completely revolutionize how we play. Imagine games that adapt to you as an individual, adjusting the difficulty, the challenges, even the storyline based on your unique skills, preferences, and emotional responses.
That would be incredible. It's like having a game that's tailor-made just for you.
Exactly. AI could analyze how you play, figure out your strengths and weaknesses, and create a completely personalized experience that's designed to optimize your learning and enjoyment.
That's mind-blowing.
It is, but Dr. Gazit takes it even further. He envisions a future where gaming goes way beyond entertainment and becomes a powerful tool for personal empowerment, scientific discovery, cultural exchange, and learning on a global scale.
Wow, that's a really bold vision. But do you think it's realistic?
I think it's definitely achievable. We're already seeing signs of this future taking shape.
Can you give us some examples of what this might look like in practice?
Absolutely. Think about education. Imagine virtual classrooms where students can step back in time and experience historical events firsthand, or conduct virtual science experiments with realistic simulations. They could even learn new languages by interacting with AI-powered avatars from different cultures.
That sounds amazing. It would make learning so much more engaging and immersive.
Exactly. And the possibilities for healthcare are equally exciting. We've already talked about how VR is being used to treat phobias and anxiety disorders. But imagine a future where VR is used to create realistic simulations for medical training, allowing surgeons to practice complex procedures in a risk-free environment.
Wow, that would be incredible.
It would. Or think about using gaming technology to create personalized rehabilitation programs for patients recovering from injuries or strokes.
It's like turning therapy into a game.
Exactly. And as AI advances, the possibilities become even more mind-blowing. Imagine AI-powered virtual companions that can provide personalized support and companionship for people who are struggling with loneliness or social isolation.
That would be amazing for elderly people or those who are homebound.
Exactly. Or imagine using AI to develop games that can detect early signs of cognitive decline and provide targeted interventions to help people maintain their brain health.
It's like having a virtual healthcare team at your fingertips.
It is. But it's not just about individual health. Dr. Gazette also explores the potential for gaming to bridge cultural divides and foster global understanding.
I can definitely see how that could happen. Games offer a shared experience, a common language that can transcend cultural differences.
Exactly. And there are already countless examples of games that have brought people together from all over the world. Think about massive multiplayer online games, MMOs, where players form guilds and alliances with people from different countries working together to achieve common goals.
Or esports tournaments, where teams from all over the world compete against each other. It's like the Olympics of the digital age.
Exactly. But of course, there are also potential pitfalls that we need to be aware of. As with any form of communication, there's always the risk of misunderstandings, conflict, and even exploitation.
That's a good point. We can't just assume that everyone will play nice in the metaverse.
Exactly. So it's crucial to approach these cross-cultural interactions with sensitivity, respect, and a willingness to learn from each other.
And to make sure that the games themselves are designed in a way that's inclusive and respectful of diversity.
Absolutely. It's about creating virtual worlds that reflect the richness and complexity of the real world. Worlds where everyone feels welcome and valued.
I love that. It's about building bridges instead of walls.
Exactly. But all of this talk about the future of gaming is exciting, but it's also important to remember that the future is not predetermined. It's something that we're all actively creating through our choices and actions.
That's a really powerful reminder. We have the power to shape the future of gaming and to use it as a force for good in the world.
Absolutely. But for now, I think it's time to take a break from our deep dive and let all of this incredible information sink in. We'll be back soon with part 3 of our exploration of the gamer brain. Welcome back to our deep dive into the fascinating world of the gamer brain. We've covered so much ground already, from the neurological benefits to the social implications. But remember that term we touched on earlier, mesometric plasticity. I think it's worth exploring a bit further.
Oh yeah, mesometric plasticity. It's a bit of a mouthful, but it's super important for understanding how gaming actually changes our brains.
Right. It sounds complex. Can you break it down for us?
Sure. Basically, mesometric plasticity refers to the brain's ability to reorganize entire networks of neurons in response to certain experiences or challenges. Think of it like working on a muscle. When you lift weights, your muscles get bigger and stronger.
I get it. So it's like a brain workout.
Exactly. Gaming gives your brain a workout, and those neural networks become stronger and more interconnected.
So it's not just about individual neurons changing. It's about entire brain regions adapting and rewiring themselves based on our gaming experiences.
Precisely. And Dr. Gazit highlights this fascinating research by Cornell Oliveros that looked at experienced players of the strategy game StarCraft II. They compared these gamers to non-gamers and found that the gamers had increased functional connectivity in specific brain regions, especially those involved in attention, logical reasoning, problem solving, and filtering out irrelevant information.
So their brains have become fine-tuned for strategic thinking and making quick decisions under pressure.
Exactly. And what's even more remarkable is that when the researchers introduced distractions into the simulations, the gamers' brains were much better at ignoring the irrelevant information and staying focused on the task at hand.
It's like they've developed a mental shield against distractions.
In a way, they have. And this mesometric plasticity suggests that gaming isn't just shaping isolated parts of the brain. It's changing how different parts of the brain communicate and work together as a whole.
It's like upgrading your brain's operating system.
Exactly. But remember, we were talking about the insula and its role in processing emotions and empathy. I wonder if mesometric plasticity might be affecting that part of the gamer brain too.
That's a great question. It makes sense that the insula, which is involved in evaluating emotional states and social cues, might also be changing in response to the complex social interactions we see in a lot of games.
So it's not just about boosting our cognitive skills, it's also about shaping our emotional intelligence and capacity for empathy.
Exactly. Gaming can be a powerful tool for developing a whole range of skills, both cognitive and emotional. But as with any powerful tool, it's important to use it responsibly and be aware of the potential risks.
Right. There's a lot of talk about the potential benefits of gaming, but it's crucial to address the potential downsides too.
Absolutely. Dr. Gazet doesn't shy away from that. He's excited about the positive side of gaming, but also recognizes the importance of responsible gaming practices and the need to address any potential negative impacts.
So let's talk about some of those potential downsides. We've already touched on gaming addiction, but what are some other concerns that parents, educators, and policymakers should keep in mind?
Well, one concern is that excessive gaming could lead to things like sleep deprivation, physical inactivity, and social isolation, especially if it's not balanced with other activities.
Those are definitely valid concerns. Like with anything in life, moderation and balance are key.
Exactly. It's about finding that healthy balance between the virtual world and the real world, making sure that gaming enhances our lives rather than taking over.
Right. And ensuring that it complements other important aspects of our lives, like spending time with loved ones, pursuing hobbies, and taking care of our physical health.
Absolutely. Dr. Gazet also talks about the importance of age-appropriate gaming. Not all games are suitable for all ages, so it's important for parents and educators to be aware of the content and the potential impact of the games that children are playing.
It's like choosing books or movies. We want to make sure that the content is appropriate for the child's developmental level and that it aligns with our values as parents and educators.
Exactly. Dr. Gazette offers some really great advice for parents and educators on how to choose games that are both fun and enriching. He stresses looking for games that encourage things like creativity, problem solving, collaboration, and a sense of wonder and exploration.
So it's not just about mindless entertainment, it's about finding games that spark curiosity and encourage learning.
Exactly. And it's about realizing that gaming itself can be a powerful educational tool.
Speaking of education, Dr. Gazette is a big advocate for integrating gaming into the classroom.
He is. He believes that well-designed games can be super effective for teaching, especially when it comes to subjects that students traditionally struggle with or find boring.
Yeah, I can see that. Turning learning into a game makes it more engaging and fun, which can lead to better understanding and retention of information.
Exactly. And there's a lot of research that backs this up. Studies have shown that games can really help students develop critical thinking skills, problem-solving abilities, and even boost their social and emotional intelligence.
It's like turning the classroom into a giant playground for the mind. But I imagine there are challenges to making this work effectively.
Of course, it's not as simple as just letting students play games all day. Teachers need to be thoughtful about choosing games that align with the curriculum, and they need to find creative ways to integrate those games into the overall learning experience.
It's about finding the right balance between structure and freedom, and making sure that the games are serving a clear educational purpose.
Exactly. Dr. Gazette offers some excellent advice on how to strike that balance. He encourages educators to create a gaming culture in their classrooms where students feel comfortable experimenting, collaborating, and learning from their mistakes.
It's about creating a safe and supportive environment for exploration and discovery.
Right. And it's not just about classrooms. Dr. Gazette sees the potential for gaming to revolutionize healthcare, too.
We've already talked about virtual reality being used to treat phobias and anxiety disorders, but I'm sure there are tons of other possibilities.
Absolutely. Imagine using VR to create ultra-realistic simulations for medical training, allowing surgeons to practice complex procedures in a safe and controlled environment without any risk to patients.
That's amazing. Or what about using gaming technology to design personalized rehabilitation programs for people recovering from injuries or strokes?
Exactly. And as AI technology continues to advance, the potential applications in healthcare become even more incredible. Imagine AI-powered virtual companions that can provide customized support and companionship for people who are struggling with loneliness or social isolation.
That would be a game changer for the elderly and those who are homebound.
Absolutely. Or imagine using AI to create games that can detect early signs of cognitive decline and provide personalized interventions to help people maintain their brain health.
It's like having a 247 virtual healthcare team at your fingertips.
It really is. But it's not just about individual health either. Dr. Gazette also sees huge potential for gaming to bridge cultural divides and build global understanding.
Games provide a shared experience, a common language that can transcend cultural barriers and create connections between people from all walks of life.
Exactly. And there are already so many examples of games that have done just that. Think about those massive multiplayer online games, MMOs, where players form guilds and alliances with people from all over the world, working together towards common goals.
Or esports, where teams from different countries compete on a global stage, showcasing their skills and sportsmanship.
Exactly. It's like the Olympics of the digital age, where people from all corners of the world can come together and connect through their shared passion for gaming. But of course, it's important to acknowledge that there are also potential challenges and pitfalls. As with any form of communication, there's always the risk of misunderstandings, conflict, and even exploitation, especially when you're dealing with people from different cultural backgrounds.
It's crucial to approach these cross-cultural interactions with sensitivity, respect, and an open mind. We have to be willing to learn from each other and bridge those cultural gaps.
Absolutely. And Dr. Gazette really emphasizes the importance of designing games that are culturally inclusive and respectful of diversity. It's about creating virtual worlds that reflect the richness and complexity of the real world, places where everyone feels welcome and valued.
It's about building bridges instead of walls, creating spaces where people from all backgrounds can come together, connect, and learn from each other.
Exactly. And as we wrap up this deep dive into the gamer brain, I hope you've gained a new appreciation for the incredible power of gaming to shape our minds, our relationships, and our world.
I know I have. It's been an eye-opening journey.
Me too. And as Dr. Gazit reminds us, it's all about harnessing that power responsibly and using it to create a better future for ourselves and generations to come. So, the next time someone tells you that video games are just a waste of time, you can confidently share what you've learned. Encourage them to think about the incredible potential of gaming to make a positive impact on our lives and on the world around us.
Absolutely. And if you're interested in exploring these ideas further, be sure to check out Dr. Gazit's book, A Journey Between Pixels and Synapses, when it comes out in 2025. We'll definitely be keeping an eye out for it.
We will. But for now, it's time for us to power down and let all of this amazing information sink in. Thanks for joining us on this incredible deep dive. Until next time, keep on gaming.
And keep on learning.
Power up fast.
LVL up smart.